Call the Peters Township Planning Commission, February 13th, 2020 planning regular meeting to order, please. Roll call, Ed.
Mr. Wiley will not be here tonight. Mr. Smith will not be here. Mr. Cartafilis?
Here.
Mr. Mills?
Here.
Mr. Magrino?
Here.
Ms. Corbel will not be here, and Mr. Salepis will not be here.
Can I get a motion to approve the January 16th regular meeting minutes?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Add any reports and correspondence?
The only one I want to note, I think in your docket is the annual report
Oh, yeah.
for 2019. I want to give Seth put that together, and there's a lot of good information in there about what happened in 2019, what you guys did in 2019, and we have it on our website for folks to look at.
Great.
There's a lot of graphs in there. So.
Thank you. I love graphs.
It looks like a bakery. There's so many pie charts in there.
Site plan subdivisions filed for review. Looks like we have the Just Above Farms Phase 2. Final plan on Bower Hill Road and Kimberly Manor, final plan, Sugar Camp Road. Any others, Ed?
Nope.
Any changes to the agenda, Ed?
No.
Audience comments on items not on the agenda? Just let's move into new business. Planning Commission recommendation on Westbury Consolidation Plan, Barnett Street, Churchill Road.
So the next two items on the agenda pretty much go hand in hand. You have seen the Westbury subdivision a number of times over the last year and a half, 2 years. Recently, after their final plan approval with council, kind of at the 12th hour, a boundary line discrepancy was discovered between the boundary of the subdivision and an adjacent property at 103 Barnett Street. In order to alleviate this discrepancy, they've had to amend a portion of the boundary of the development, which in essence affects the consolidation plan and then also affects the final plan for recording. A couple of the lots have been affected accordingly. In regard to the consolidation plan, the actual boundary discrepancy is located kind of right here. I'll highlight it on the next slide, but this is 103 Barnett Street, and this is the boundary of the Westbury subdivision. There was a portion of property that 103 Barnett Street had, I think, quit claimed sometime shortly before the application by the Westbury development. So the developer wasn't aware of it. They designed their plan in the way they thought the boundary was the way it was. Come to find out that the property wasn't actually
What's the
there.
acreage?
It was like 15 feet. It was a very minor piece. If you look here at the consolidation plan comparison, on the left is the original approved consolidation plan that was approved by council in December of 2019. On the right is the revised consolidation plan. Again, there's about a 15 or so foot shift of the boundary line when compared to the original approved consolidation plan. With that under consideration, I mean, there's no other significant changes to consolidation plan. Staff is making a recommendation that Planning Commission recommend approval of the Westbury consolidation plan revised, subject to the two conditions in my February 5, 2020 report. We're here to answer any questions about that.
We get a motion on this. It was pretty much a technical error.
I'd like to make a motion that the Planning Commission recommend approval for the Westbury Consolidation Plan, subject to those two conditions in staff's report dated February 5th, 2020.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 We'll go on to the next one.
In conjunction, the Westbury final plan, as I mentioned, was also affected. This had an effect on a total of 5 lots in the same vicinity of the development. This is the newly proposed final plan. The changes we're going to be looking at on the next slide occur in this area here, just north of that boundary line revision. Similar to the comparison for the consolidation plan, on the left you see the original approved final plan. On the right is the revised plan. The most major change of any of the lots would be for lot 49 here. It got ultimately skinnier in some portions, and then in order to give it additional area to not have such a concern about lot coverage, they grabbed some of the space in the back that originally was part of lot 48, and then that lot subsequently got skinnier, this lot got skinnier, this lot got skinnier, just to kind of make up that 15-foot difference cumulatively across the board. This lot also got smaller as well, just to make sure there were no real issues with any of these lots as we get into the building phase of this development.
So really a redistribution along that boundary.
Yeah, just a 15 feet, making it all work out. Staff's report dated February 5, 2020. We carried over the existing conditions that were on the previous final plan approval, some of which are nearly completed at this time, and others we're just making sure that some notations on the final plan were addressed before we go back to council.
Okay.
We're making a recommendation, the Planning Commission make a recommendation to council for approval.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that the Planning Commission recommend approval on the Westbury final plan revision in accordance with the memo dated February 5th, 2020, and in accordance with the 7 conditions listed in the memo.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next on the agenda is the Planning Commission recommendation, Pemberley Manor final plan.
So this is the final plan version of the Pemberley Manor subdivision that came before Planning Commission and Council for preliminary approval in 2019. It is now a 2-phase development. Originally, it was just going to be 1 phase, but in order to get the joint permit approved, they're going to split it up into 2 phases. Still 48 single-family lots. There's no significant differences compared to the preliminary plan that you saw back in October of 2019 and that was approved in December of 2019. Again, developed by Miranda Homes with an eventual connection into Peterswood Park. This is the development here, Sugar Camp Road along the north here, Frobe Road with some lots along Frobe, and 2 cul-de-sacs coming off the Spine Road that would ultimately connect into Peterswood Park. In regard to the phasing of the development, this would be the first phase, would be the main Bruni Road coming off Sugar Camp with Darcy Court, the first of the 2 cul-de-sacs, and then the 6 lots that would be developed along Frobe Road. The second of the 2 phases, this is just a blow up of the first phase to get a little bit clearer picture of what we're going to be seeing. The second phase would be the second cul-de-sac, Pemberley Court, further along Bruni Roads, Sugar Camp Roads all the way off to the far right of the screen, and then Peterswood Park is up to the top left of the screen. In regard to the home product we're going to be seeing, it's a combination of some patio homes and some standard single family. These are the renderings provided to us by Miranda Homes. What you're looking right now would be the patio home versions, and this here is an example of some of the single family homes that they would be building at this site. I do want to mention that after we gave our application, our materials to Planning Commission, we got a call from the engineer. They had to do some very minor revisions in regard to some archaeological work that was done on the site. As part of their joint permit process, archaeological dig site was done. They discovered some artifacts. Staff's not 100% clear on the scope and complexity of all that, but effectively they had to make some minor changes to their stormwater basin, and they had to shift Bruni Road a little bit further to the north to resolve a separate issue with the power company and the height of some overlying power lines. Staff's here to answer any questions you have. The engineer is here as well, and the applicant. Staff is making a recommendation of approval to Planning Commission. They can make a recommendation to council for approval subject to the 15 conditions in my February 5, 2020 report. It's all pretty much the standard conditions for our final plan approvals, final engineering approvals, subdivision improvement agreements, those types of things, all their final permits, and then some minor notations and changes to the plan itself.
Could you discuss recommendation 12?
So this was something that came up during our initial conversations about the subdivision. On Frobe Road, the road is super elevated in such a way that we think there might be some eventual issues with runoff from Frobe Road onto these new 6 lots along Frobe. Initially, as part of preliminary plan approval, we almost said they have to do something to address this issue, but in further conversation with their engineer, we kind of came to the conclusion that it's not necessarily as big of a problem as we think. So during the construction of those 6 lots, we're going to be out there making sure that it's not going to be an issue and they potentially do something if it is. It's kind of a field verification type of thing, but we wanted to get a notation on the final plan just to cover that.
That was kind of my question. So is it more than investigation? It would really be they're going to take action should the township
Yeah,
find it
effectively, yeah. I mean, if we determine it's an issue, we'll address it in the field accordingly.
Do you need that to be amended, or is recommendation 12 sufficient, given the other language in the code and power which you have?
Yeah, like, should it say during construction, an assessment and changes needed will be addressed prior to progress, that kind of.
I just hung up on the term investigate. Just want
Yeah.
to make sure that if they're going to remedy, that
Remedy.
you otherwise have that power that's not in this particular recommendation.
Maybe we should put during construction, the applicant shall investigate any potential runoff issues from Frobe Road affecting whatever those 6 lots are.
Yeah.
To the
During-
satisfaction of the township.
Yes.
During construction, the applicant shall investigate and address any roadway runoff from Frobe Road onto the proposed lots along Frobe Road.
We agree to remedy that, no problem.
Yep.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Pat, I think, though, that when we do the grading up there, I don't know that we'll know whether or not it's going to be a problem or not. I think it's, when they're building the houses.
Yeah.
Maybe?
It's not
Go to that.
The issue is that there's water coming down Frobe, Pat Cooper with Caitlin. Water comes down Frobe Road, and the contours on the plan make it appear like water is sheet flowing off of Frobe and across these lots. My field investigation is there's like a little berm, and it's acting like a curb, and all the water's going down Frobe anyway. When they build these homes, all of the garages will be above Frobe Road. The driveways will be slightly uphill to the garages, so that water will not be flowing into them. Anything on Frobe should stay on Frobe and continue the way it is currently. So, but we will.
And there's a sidewalk going along Frobe.
Yes.
Yeah. And the sidewalk will be higher.
Sidewalk will connect
Frobe,
the whole way to the park then? Is that the ultimate plan?
It'll go down.
as far as we can take it.
It'll go down to the cluster mailboxes here,
What's the edge of road? Is it a wedge curb or a
and then
curb?
tie into Darcy Court, and then ultimately get you up into the park.
Gotcha.
It's a ribbon road right now. There's no real curb, but there's just like the little berm on the road. So there is a gutter of sorts that is keeping all the water going down Frobe.
Just something we want to keep an eye on when these homes are being built.
I mean, should we call for a wedge curb there or something?
Our township engineer went out and looked at it, and we talked about that. We don't know if that's needed or necessary.
If it is put down, it should be done the next time you top coat Frobe. You put the curb thing on.
Yeah,
and do it
integral
that way.
with the placement.
Yeah, what was the reason it took so long to ever develop this property? Was it never had sewage issue?
Well, the sewers are,
They finally get.
they brought sewers a few years back up Sugar Camp and across the Arabian Horse Farm about 6-7 years ago.
Okay.
So these sewers that they'll be connecting into are directly across from the Bruni property on the other side of Sugar Camp. You're connecting into a manhole over there, correct?
Correct.
Plus, it's not an easy piece of property to develop.
Yeah. And the stipulation that it had the connection to the park is it's a burden.
What did you guys have to do with the big power lines? Is they just sort of go through it, or is there some adjustments necessary?
We've had to work around them, and our latest adjustment, one of the wires was too low. We had to adjust Bruni Road down.
Well, did you really?
Yeah. That was one of the leaks.
We're not going to have any drainage issues with a sump or anything on Bruni Road since you've lowered that.
No, it all-
It all keeps going? Got it.
Keeps going. It'll be a detention basin down by Sugar Camp.
And what artifacts were found, if I may?
We were just talking about it. They brought a bag of it. It looked like slate, just chips to me. I'm not.
Sure.
She said this could have been a tanning tool, or there's one arrowhead, possible arrowhead. For the joint permit process, you have to have an archaeological.
HMC.
Yeah. Went out, looked at the whole site, and there's one area down near that power tower had a few things they found. But we're submitting it. It should be no problem.
Okay.
We're going to give a 25-foot buffer around this area, and it should be fine.
Understood.
And
Any other comments?
the house, the finishes that I saw in there, there's some nice brick on that. This looks like a lot of siding. Is that?
This is just their brochure stuff. The home buyers choose, and these lots are very expensive. The homes are going to be very expensive. Anticipate a lot of brick. Is that right?
That's good.
In the house, the patios are 375 to 450. The regulars are 425 to 650. So I'm sure the buyer's going to demand something better, depending how much.
Yeah.
Can you flip to the other ones? The price range for the single family, again, was what?
Excuse me?
425 to 650.
425.
Any of that siding stuff would be some kind of hardy material or something like that, though?
Mike Cedar with Miranda Homes. Yes, it could be that we focus on the front elevations for the most part, and we follow whatever the township ordinances are on materials. But they will be majority front elevations of stone and brick combination. Very, very good features on it. Unfortunately, these aren't the best depictions of them. This is just the material I have to offer at this point. But they will be very beautiful homes and will fit into the community very well.
Eddie, we don't have any restrictions on what they can and can't do anyway,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And as you guys said, I mean, these are expensive homes, $500,000 homes on average.
Yeah.
Well, that's
The buyer is not going to just throw up a bunch of siding without really making it a really nice home, inside and out for that matter. With the single family homes, we have a presidential series, which is a very large home, and it has amazing options. And I believe you may, on record, have some of the options that we put in there, standard options and things along those lines that you could review. But they're very, very nice homes.
And your logic is, one is just because of the area, you're going to try to build a nicer home, but also it's so expensive to develop this particular parcel.
That's what it came down to. I mean, it was an expensive purchase on raw land,
Yeah.
and then just with engineering and all the hurdles we have to go through, that essentially sets the price
Yeah.
for the most part. And that Peters Township is such not just up and coming; it's already coming, but it's a very sought out area.
Yeah.
We will have no issue having the homes that you guys want to have, and that's what they will.
Anything else?
Sir.
Cul-de-sacs are set lengths. We already talked about that before, correct? There was a thing there, and that's all. Nothing's
Go
changed
ahead,
there.
Ted. You could talk about it.
They received cul-de-sac modification approval from council on August 12, 2019.
Okay.
So
That
yeah,
was my recollection.
You're good to go on
But-
cul-de-sac length.
But they didn't just grant the modification.
Right.
Rhonda was, go ahead, Sid, to explain.
Well, part of that modification approval included a certain amount of work being done on that Bruni Road extension into Peterswood Park in regard to like the grading and the underlying utilities, getting us ready to go in and pave it whenever
Right.
the township's ready to pave it.
There's a preparation,
Correct.
handoff level.
Well, and they agreed to extend the sewer up to service our concession stand. That's a big help to us.
Yep.
They're going to
Okay.
get that road ready for us to pave, to
And
make that
dedicate-
connection.
And dedicate some property to the township.
So, Miranda was very accommodating in that respect.
Good. Thank you. Good motion?
I'd like to make a motion that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the Pemberley Manor final plan in accordance with the 15 staff planning recommendations on the memo of February 5th, 2020, with the following adjustment to item number 12, to read, during construction, the applicant shall investigate and address any potential solution a potential solution to the roadway runoff from Frobe Road onto the proposed lots along Frobe to the satisfaction of the township and its engineer.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Nice.
Any other issues, Ed, you want to talk about?
I have none.
Okay. Anything else, guys? Meeting adjourned.